There we go. Turn on. There we go. Gonna get all these things to work normally here. And then we can get going. So make sure you subscribe, like this video. You're already going to like it, so you might as well click the like button now. No, I'm just kidding. You might. Let's click go live over here. Check the old tubes. Everything's looking amazing with our white canvas over here. Got that guy. And then let's do this one. Give it a little click see over here. And we should be good, guys. It's going to be amazing. So check in. Let me know where you're watching from out there. And then we're going to get rocking and rolling. I'll start popping out all these chats, doing all the stuff I've got to do so I can see all of your comments on one screen. That's all it means, really. I'm popping out the chat so you can put all of the comment sections into one place. Much easier to see in that one place. So let's click over here. Bing, bang, boom. Where are we at? Over there, looking good. Here, there, everywhere. You guys are looking excellent. So start checking in. Let me know where you're watching from. We're going to have a grand adventure today. It's going to be really fun. So let's get in here. I don't know why the book doesn't want to start. It's just not letting me go. And if it wants to be a pain, then it can be left behind. So let me know where you're from out there. And then we're going to get going on this really cool thing. Oh, I think it's finally up. There we go. Let's drop down over here. Oh, my word. Come on now. Wasting everyone's time, Josh. Got Indonesia checking in. Tennessee over there. You guys are awesome. Here, over there. Let's see. Bing, bang, boom. Well, it doesn't want to work. If it wants to work later, then it can work later. But in any case, let's get this one up just like that. So, welcome in, everybody. It's Paint with Josh. We're back in the studio. Welcome. Thank you for being here. We've got our 18 by 24 inch horizontally oriented canvas today. We're going to be doing a black and white scene, and I'm probably going to need more black and white out on my palette. But in the meantime, I should be okay. Right, what we're going to do is apply some of our BobRoss liquid white. You can also use Grumbacher's liquid white. I just have a BobRoss jar open on the table through this last, I don't even know how long they last, honestly, for me, since I paint so often. Right, I've got mine is down to about here, right? So even though it looks like I'm dunking in the entire brush, we're only going to get about a 1/4 inch onto the end of the bristles, right? That way we don't have too much. This can be very flippy and it will get everywhere. I have, sprinkles all over the place to prove that this stuff likes to get everywhere. So we very gently apply it to the canvas and then we start scrubbing. So especially if I'm going to come up to an area where I've got this long streak and then a drip coming down, I don't want to go like this and then hit that drip. It's going to start flying everywhere, right? So spread it out and then really start to scrub it. Remember, we have to really scrub this stuff in there in order for it to spread out. If it's not spreading out evenly, right, then our canvas will be wet in some areas and it will be dry in some areas. And we can't have that happen. It has to be equally wet throughout the entire thing, right? So what we're going to do is start to spread it and scrub it all around everywhere possible, right? If you've ever done a black canvas before, you would see how much you really have to scrub on that paint in order to spread it all the way around the canvas, right? That is the same amount of pressure that we have to spread all this liquid white around our canvas. So the more that you sit up here and mix, the better you're going to be, the better off you'll be anyway, right? And sometimes when you dip in, you don't get enough on the brush, and that's okay, right? It's perfectly fine. You can always go back, but get a little bit at a time, right? We do not want to have too much of this paint on the canvas at one go. And if you feel like you have too much, you can always go back and wipe off the excess, and I'll show you exactly how to test it and make sure that we've got just enough on the canvas. You can always take your easel at home as well and just kind of spin it, move it around, and see in the right light that it is all wet. And it should be very thin. If this takes minimal time for you, you know you have way too much paint on the brush, right? We need to have the smallest amount on this canvas because it's only kind of there like buttering up your pan or spraying down the pan before you put some pancake mix on top, right? You don't want it to be enormously goopy on your pan before you go pour pancakes onto it, right? Just a little spritz of it is all you need. Now, what I do is I kind of look up and down, side to side on the canvas and look for any dry areas. And what I'm going to show you right here is some secret stuff, right? Some stuff that they keep under wraps. No, I'm just kidding. It's pretty well known. But what you're going to do is you're going to touch around the canvas, different fingers, right, in different spots, and they should be pretty equal in the amount of white that's on there. Now, if you look closely enough, right, you can still see down to the black of the glove right here. If you don't wear gloves, you just have your fingers, you should be able to see all of your fingerprint still. If you go and touch it like this and it's completely opaquing out or covering your fingertip completely and you can no longer see any ridges, right, then you know you've got too much on the canvas at one go, right? So what we're going to do now is use our ivory black from actually this one's from Gamblin 1980, and then our titanium white from Gamblin 1980 as well, right? As well. And if we're just going to do a black and white scene, you got to start with black, unfortunately. I mean, you don't have to. The top doesn't have to be black. In fact, dude, let's try something different. What if we went like this and we started plopping on that black and leaving a big old patch down here, something that we haven't done before, okay? And because of the amount of black on the brush, everybody's is going to be a little bit different, right? You're not going to be able to grab the exact same amount of black on your brush as I grab on my brush because I can't do it the same way or this, twice. I couldn't go back and make this look exactly the same again, just on the first go, you know what I mean? So everyone's will be slightly different. And what we're going to do is start to blend it out. And if we notice that the paint, the dark paint is continuing to grow and grow and grow and grow, that means we probably have too much still left on the brush, right? So what I'm going to do is dab the brush on a paper towel, just literally smashing it onto my table, scrubbing it around, moving it, you know what I mean? Trying to make it so that, oh, we finally got the Facebook comments up now. Let's see. Trying to make it so that I scrub all of it off, you know what I mean? I don't want to have too much excess paint in the bristles because it's going to continue to drop off all this dark color and it's going to get darker and darker and darker and darker, right? No, we're not painting the painting below. This is just to block the blue lights. See, notice the blue light around the canvas and around the easel and stuff on these panels back here. That comes right up into my eye, and it also affects the camera as the light goes back into the camera, right? So it's just there to block it, right? Now what I'm going to do is take that brush, and I've dabbed off on my paper towel so you can see, if anything, it's white paint on it, or very, very, very light gray, right? And that means I won't continue to, see that? See the difference? I won't continue to drop more and more and more darkness off as I go. So now I can start to kind of pick up a little bit of that dark, drag it out, and start to see what it looks like, and start to blend it, right? That's all you're doing. You're just blending it so that you don't have stripes of color, right? And so that means if I'm going to come down here, I'm going to grab some of this, maybe get down into the color, and then like a window washer, start working it back up until I'm up into this light, and then I'll come back down into the dark, pick it up back up into the light, continue, never taking the brush off the canvas, right? Just side to side, side to side, side to side, right? And you can start to blend that area to where your darkness will come up this way and your brightness will come down this way, right? And then you can decide what you want it to look like, right? How do you like it? How far do I want this little bit to grow into my scene, right? How far do I let that darkness go over that way? Maybe I'll start to look like a little cloud already without even having to add white to the canvas, right? All based off of how we're blending the paint. So here we're just crisscrossing back and forth. I usually do, these are like my pivot, or like my anchor points on the brush. So I'm holding it, pinching it here and pinching it back here, and then holding it on these two corners. It's not the most comfortable, but you get a lot of movement out of that, and you can do a lot of things for a long time. You can either turn the brush horizontally or use it vertically like this without changing your grip on the brush. That's why I like it. Just for me, you know what I mean? That's all. Everybody likes something different. I'll just show you guys what I do, how I make stuff. And if you like how that works for you, then please hit that follow button. You know what I mean? Do all the things you gotta do. There we go. Well, me and you are gonna paint something really cool, right? So maybe this area down here isn't as dark as I would like it. And this area might be a bit too dark. So watch how I can drag this paint down here just by using more pressure and then blend out that color, right? Now, you have to think about this the opposite, right? You're thinking, oh, I want a nice soft sky. I've got to go up here and touch it very gingerly and very gently, right? No, the softer that you want the sky, the harder you have to blend it, right? I'm going to leave that little almost cloud, whatever it is. We're gonna call it an almost cloud. Just because I saw it and I didn't want to blend it away, right? That's all. That's all we're ever doing. Now, let's get that titanium white out here. And if we have just black on our white base, which is wet, remember, it will still try to blend pretty quick. So we're going to need a good amount of white. And what if, I kind of like this little shape out here. It's just very flat. All right, we're just going to put a little bit right over the top of that little mark that was there. And then I'm going to take the brush and I'm going to start making my little chocolate milk stirrups, right? Maybe you're stirring milk into your coffee, maybe into your tea. Maybe you're just mixing up chocolate milk like me. Bang, just like that. Very soft, right? Because the harder that I push on it, the more it will dissipate. You know what I mean? So even if I wanted to change the direction, I could do those little chocolate milk stirrups, just going in this upward direction and start to change the softness, all depending on how hard I am pushing on it, right? So if I want it to blend even softer, I'll even push it harder, right? To make it nearly disappear, to give us one little thing out here, something. Maybe I'll take some of this dark and just cut right down through the center. Cut it into two different pieces out there, right? What do you feel like doing? Because it is 1,000,000% up to you how your clouds and your sky are going to look, right? Now remember, we've got some sort of something over here, I would imagine, because I'm going to put a monstrous mountain peak into this side, and I want to have a little bit of cloud over here. So depending on how heavy I just laid down this paint, and then how heavy I mix it up, right? We're going to vary those pressures, especially very light on the top to keep them brighter, and then along the bottom, right? Especially down here, we'll push a little harder, forcing it to mix in with the darker color and disappear, right? However that looks to you is going to be how it looks to you, right? Everyone's will always be slightly different. Now, on the right side of my mountainous peak, I would also have a little bit of cloud out here. Just kind of push it on. Maybe it goes up, maybe it goes down, right? Maybe it eventually connects onto this little friend. But whatever we put in there, we're going to cut through it, right? So I would rather you not even have it here in the middle, right? But just to show you, even if you want to go all the way across, whatever. Just so as long as it's not the same, right? We're kind of pushing it along. We've got all these different colors of dark and light, because that's all it's about, is the dark and the light. Right? And it's not always about the light. We talk about it all the time, how the details are actually in the dark areas, right? Like imagine, and don't even imagine. I mean, actually, yeah, imagine. Don't do it, because if you go out and look at the sun, it's going to hurt your eyes. But imagine you're staring at the sun. It's very bright, right? But you can't see anything because it's so bright. So the devil is in the details, in the darkness, right? You ever heard those? No, me either. I don't know. We just make stuff up as we go. But look at that, right? If it's all too bright, we're not going to see. So we got to come down here into the darker underside and bring it up, just like we're rotating in a dryer over and over, taking the light down and the darkness up, and the light down and over and back and here and there. And remember, you got to think about, I just came up with this in the last show. We're not like a steamroller, right? We're not just going from one side all the way to the other with the same amount of pressure. We're more like an ice skater. Right? We're more like coming up here, grabbing a little bit, working it over to this side, coming back over there, all along the ice rink, doing our little tricks and stuff here and there and everywhere. And that way, you won't just stay in one place. That's what we cannot have you do. I can't have you just stay in one spot and just mix it and mix it and mix, because it'll mix away. It'll be gone forever, right? So you got to move. Got to move. And I'm sorry that I make it look easy. I have 532 paintings worth of experience to make it look this easy. All right, we're going to take a little chunk of black. Don't need to have too big of it, but good chunk of black, good chunk of white, okay? I don't want to make it overly bright gray. If it's overly bright gray, as soon as it gets up here, it's going to start to get brighter, right? If it's too dark in the background, then I will not be able to make things look closer by making them darker, which is exactly what we plan to do, right? So we're going to aim for almost like a very deep, dark, charcoalish gray paint color, right? Very dark. Not as dark as its initial original black, right? Because we've added some white to it, but it's still very dark. So now we're going to scoop up some of that paint, big old roll of it, okay? We're going to come up here and we have to start covering the clouds, so you might as well just start in the clouds, right? All we're doing, worrying about the top edge of the mountain. Everything underneath makes no difference, right? If I came over here, what if we had a little hump and a little bump? We're off to the races, right? We're scooping up and then kind of flattening out, only worrying about that top line. What's above, everything else below is nothing. It's going to be changed, right? So you don't have to worry about what it looks like now. We're going to scoop up a little bit more of that paint. I might actually have to make up a bigger pile next time. We're going to start creeping down. Maybe there's a little projection. Boom, right there. Little thing, right? Make sure that these are not on the same level, okay? You cannot have it. And in fact, I'm going to get a little taller just for extra emphasis, okay? They don't all have to be just perfectly pyramidal and pointy, right? A lot of the mountains out there have rounded tops, especially out here in Washington and Oregon. We have a rounded top and volcanic mountains that have just been shaped by time. At least that's what they tell us in school, right? Now we're going to come down here and finish it off, dipping lower. So we've got one side considerably higher, one side a little bit lower, and that's going to give you the most amazing mountain you've ever seen, okay? We're going to come up here, grabbing on, right, to the paint. We're going to pull it and start to shape what we want our mountain to look like. So as you're dragging it down, you're curving however you want yours to be. Now, because it was such a small peak, our brush tried to overtake all of it. We need to come back and cut half of that in the other direction, right? Follow along that ridge that we had created, pulling down in this other direction will start to give you more of a 3D feel. It's going to start popping out of the canvas and coming at you, right? Without any extra paint. I'm going to grab this guy, right? What do you do with this one? Because if you come down and cut through here, you're getting rid of all of that ridge, right? Or it becomes a new thing and pushes this guy in the background. Check this out. Go back like that. Zip, right? So now you've got this new thing that's closer. This guy's a little bit further away, right? Again, without any paint, we can take that same thing and just make it, I mean, okay, maybe we might need a little bit more paint, but just make it a little darker and pull it over in this direction, right? So now we've got this little slope over here. So again, how do you want yours to be, right? How do you feel like, what do you feel like today? Because now all of a sudden, if I put a big streak of white down here, it will separate these two bits of mountain, right? Again, no extra paint. Coming up on this guy, let's go a little steeper. Turn it down, right? Turn it down, right? Dude, we can have this whole canvas become a mountain. Honestly, it is completely up to us every time, right? So I left half. See, I didn't even come up all the way to the edge. You don't need to get all the way to the edge of that guy. Some of the times your brush is going to do more damage than help being way up there. Take this one, let's come off this side. Zip, right? And we come over here, we grab this little friend, right at that ridge, the ridge, the ridge, the ridge, the ridge. And now all of a sudden we've got 3 sets of land coming in. Our mountain is extending out here towards us, right? Becoming this enormous thing, right? Now remember, angle change is a big thing too. These are very steep. These are less. These are almost flat if we're coming back to an imaginary pivot spot, right? Same thing over here. Above now. Come down. Zip, zap, zoop. How do you want yours to be? Literally every time you can build a mountain just like that. Dude, that's brilliant. Twizzler1 Deanna Suzkowski. Thank you. I appreciate you. Gosh, that's neat, isn't it? Now, you can make your mountain as big and as giant. I mean, seriously, we could keep going and do this whole thing as a mountainous scene. But I'm going to throw some trees back in there. So here's what we're going to do. You have to be able to highlight and low light your mountain. This should be pretty dark back here. You do not want it to be very bright, okay? it's not going to be as dark as the pure dark, as the pure black, right? So we can make a light kind of shadow color and a dark kind of shadow color, or darker anyway, just by using our white and our black, seriously. So we're gonna get a lot of white, we're gonna get a little bit of our black, and we're gonna mix these guys up into what should become a slightly dark silverish gray, right? So maybe I need a touch more of the black color. There we go. I don't want it to be this exact color. It's getting close, right? If it's that exact color, when we put it up there, we're not going to see it. It has to be slightly lighter than that. And then our snow has to be much brighter than this, but not be pure white. You have to save the pure white for the very front. So while I'm getting out some more paint, you guys check in. Let me know where you're watching from out there in the night. I don't know why I always get the radio voice when I ask you guys to check in. Like, tuning in to 97.1 The Josh. Welcome in. Tell me where you calling in from, caller. I don't know why I always put that voice on. I don't know. There's no explanation for it, but I like to have fun with it. So let me know where you're watching from out there, from around the world. Tennessee, Colorado, Washington. I'm over here in Selah, Washington by Yakima. You should come over and take some classes. We're open for business. Oklahoma, Kentucky, Boston. Where's my New Jerseyites over there? We got Boston, Alberta, my chair, Toronto, Los Angeles, Arizona, Florida. Sound like that. Sebastian Maniscalco. We got people from Florida, Louisiana, Tennessee, West Virginia, New Hampshire over here. I can't stop. I can't stop. Kansas, Ohio over on the tube. You guys are amazing. Alberta, Evanston, Florida again. Ohio, Texas, UK. It just says Mount, like MT. Wait, hang on. I don't know that one. Anyway, UK, we know that one. Texas, Indonesia, Ghana, Belgium, Nicaragua. We've got people from Ohio, Michigan, Kent, Indianapolis, Texas over there, Richmond, North Dakota. We got people from literally all over the world watching right now. I'm so scared. Okay, now let's go over here. Get a little bit more of our titanium white, much larger chunk than we got at first because we were running out of paint. We're gonna grab a small amount of this gray that we created, not the black, because that's the only color. Don't look at these, right? This is the only two colors that exist, is the black and the white. So we need to get a little touch of this darker gray, which will make this color supremely bright, but not pure white. You can even see some of the pure white trying to sneak right in there, right? So we're gonna kind of flatten it all out, scoop it up. We might need to even go back and make up a little bit more of both in fact, but we're gonna try to work with this guy for what we have anyway, okay? So we're gonna come over here to our lighter gray, kind of silvery gray color. If we scoop it up, we have a little roll of this stuff that we're going to attach onto our canvas, right? You guys know paint, right? As soon as you stick it to it, it's going to want to get stuck. And if you pull away, you'll pull away this little ribbon, almost like a little rubber band, and it will snap, right? So you'll leave a little piece of paint on the canvas and you'll have a little piece of paint on your blade, right? So you feel that suction is what we're talking about. So we're gonna come up here, we're gonna attach on, we're gonna let it float very gently, floating down, right? You have to touch this canvas as softly as if you were going to touch a newborn's face sleeping in a crib, right? You want to go make sure, right? We're babysitting. We're going to go make sure that, they're still alive, right? Or we're going to make sure every once in a while you get that anxiety and you're like, oh, I better go check, right? And when you go to check, you're going to want to, make sure, see them move or something. So maybe you give them a little graze on their little tiny cheeks, right? That's as soft as you have to touch this guy, right? So you're touching it very lightly, hovering, barely any pressure. I saw them steal this from me too with the 2 fingers, right? Barely anything, and then you can float down. The bigger the amount, and you guys know what I'm talking about, the bigger the amount of paint that is on the blade, the longer we will be able to float down, right? And I tend to do it with a bit of speed, because if you don't have that speed, you won't be able to control your pressure. At least I don't, or I can't anyway, right? So if I'm sitting up here very slow-like, and I'm trying to just barely go slow, it's gonna end up being thicker than if I were to do it quickly and let it whip down. That looks amazing, by the way. Thank you, appreciate it, Josh. Love you, buddy. Thanks, love you too, guy. Now we're going to come over here, and you guys know, they just watch my show and rip off everything I do. Either which way. Let's get over here, okay? We're going to take our lighter gray silvery paint, and we're going to use that little bit of shadow on this one section, on this guy back here, right? Very softly. And you can even pull into your mountain on your other side, right? Kind of trying to shape your back edge. And even that looks cool, even though it's coming across our what would be in the light, right? And it's cool how it looks. And we can change up our idea every time. Now, what if this guy, again, all of these little highlights, you can see how we're starting right to left, and a very small right to left. If you're doing shadows on this mountain anyway, or however, whichever way you do yours, right? You have to pull your shadows in the same direction, no matter what side of the mountain they're on. Same goes for the highlights, and I'm going to show you that in just a hot second. So I hope you're staying ready to see something amazing, okay? So here we go. We're going to come in with our white, the titanium white, and a little bit of that gray mixed up down here, right? Scoop up a little roll, and again, if I attach it onto the canvas, and then I let her rip very gently, very softly, we're not touching the blade, and I tend to keep my finger up here just because I don't have any other where to put it. I like holding it with my middle finger and my thumb, and so I don't have anywhere to place my index finger except for on the blade. That makes it look to you like I'm trying to push on that blade, which is exactly what I'm not trying to do. I'm trying to hover, right? So I could literally do it like this and keep my, my finger right up here in the air like I'm fancy. Like I'm drinking tea and I'm fancy, except it would have been the middle. No, now we're just rocking out. Like somebody put on Metallica if we're doing this way, right? So even the Texas Longhorns can still paint like Paint with Josh if we come out here. So it doesn't really matter what finger you use, where your fingers are, as long as you're hovering over it, like you're Marty McFly on his board, just hovering above the thing, allowing the canvas to, that's why it breaks like that, because the canvas is kind of like sandpaper to your paint, right? And so as you're going across this sandpapery surface, if you're thinking about it like paint, it's going to rip chunks of your paint roll off as you start coming down, right? So the harder the pressure, the more we're going to smear all those little chunky paint bits into like cake icing on a cake, right? Which is very thick. I don't know if you've ever, especially like a wedding cake. Who's in charge of making wedding cakes anymore? Like, do we have to have that much icing around the edge? It seems a little excessive to me. I don't know. It seems too sweet. But in any case, right? We don't want to ice a cake over here. So what we're doing is we're taking, and I'll explain it to you like this, kind of like if you had, just real quickly, I know there's lots of people watching, but real quickly, right? Let's say this canvas was sandpaper and my roll of paint was this paper towel, and I went across it. It's going, you know, very lightly, it's going to start picking little pieces off, like lint, and pick off little bits of paper towel and leave them stuck onto my sandpaper, right? But if I were to go up there and really smush onto it hard and push, then that sandpaper is going to destroy this thing. It's going to flatten it down. There's going to be too many bits of paper towel everywhere because I pushed too hard, right? So it's the same kind of concept when you're trying to get this thing to skip across the pond. You know what I mean? We're just skipping rocks. Boom, 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 boom. Little things. Not trying to push hard, trying to do anything. Just letting it float until we have nothing left, right? That's the main goal. How much do you put on until you covered up too much? And that's a hard thing for people to figure out, right? They go, oh man, like I just never know when to stop. Have you ever had that thought? Just never know when to stop doing it. I can help you out in that instance, right? Stop. Stop covering up everything, okay? Now, just like we were talking about with our our low lights going all in the same direction. All these little shadowy low light bits are all traveling in the same direction, right? From right to left. And then our highlights, just like I said we would go from left to right in the opposite direction. That's how you're going to create that depth and that 3D looking and that 3D feel to it, right? So even if you're on your highlight side where the light would be hitting, you still have your shadows going from left to right and left to right and left to right, right? So even if we go on to the shadowy side, right? That's really cool. Little projection. Just, ooh, ooh, ooh. You see what I mean? All these things, you guys, are wickedly, awesomely fun if you just let yourself have fun with it. Oh, my word. So, just like I was saying, even if we go on to the shadowy side, we should be at least pulling our mountainous, peaky things, right? We're going to get way up here, just real close, right there. I want to have that little gap in between. I like that little bit, right? And in fact, we can always go back in and put more of that light-colored highlight in there going the other way. There, or the low light anyway. You never just want to leave it bare, right? At least put some sort of shadow in there. But even if we come on to the shadow side and I turn my blade this way and we start working our highlights from left to right, like we were doing before, you can start to pick up light in different areas, extending your mountain from a 3D to a 17D mountain, the most H of the Ds that you will get on your mountain, right? The most depth you can possibly have is putting another little ridge over here like this. Tell me it's not the coolest thing you've ever seen. Seriously, right? You'd be like, oh, I don't know if I want to, like, right? And I used to be like that. I would never put light on the left-hand side, right? I just wouldn't have done it because we're taught, like, okay, we've got a light side, we've got a dark side, right? At least that's how I learned by teaching myself anyway, right? Then I can decide how far this light wants to creep over to the other side, right? Where are the shadows? How many of them are going to get covered? It's all going to be a little valley right down in there, right? So where are these shadowy bits? If I've got a projection out there, I would imagine I would have a little bit of shadow, right? Where is it catching in your mind? And where are you going to cover? Because you can't cover it all. Remember, it gets very tempting to want to cover everything in white. And then you're going to be like, oh man, I had this thing and then I lost it. And I don't know what happened. Looks like we just ripped a chunk, just ripped the heart right out of the mountain, you guys. Seriously, maybe I'll come up here a little higher, only because I don't want it to be a straight line. So it was kind of pretty straight there, and then we came up a little higher, and then it was over here, and then we're up a little higher again, right? You decide, but don't let that light try to get too far over, I'm telling you. And if it does get over, right, anywhere that there's light, you also have to have a bit of that shadowy color as well as that low light, right? Look at that from a mountain, though. Serious, right? Show me somebody besides my girlfriend, Danny, that paints better mountains than that. Wow. No, like seriously, I took a step back and looked at it and I was like, have you ever noticed as well, if you're a painter, you can be sitting too close, just like your parents said, like sit back away from the TV, it's going to rot your brain, right? Like you can sit too close to your painting. And by sitting too close to your painting, it will make you blind. You will not be able to see things, right? So what I have, my solution, I have a little television right over the camera so I can see what you guys are looking at, how the screen looks from 6 feet away back there to here versus this very severe, sharp angle that I'm on, right? How much are the classes? So the group classes here in Yakima or Sela, just off of Yakima, are $55 each. And then the virtual classes are $90, and that is at your own place with your own supplies, and we connect via video call, which is what a lot of the you know, it's always funny, whenever you get a following, the majority of them are never where you live, right? They're always everywhere else. I've found that. Because literally, they're like, oh, I used to live there. I'm not there anymore. You know what I mean? But they're always somewhere else. But yeah, we do our virtual classes, and then we have our in-person one-on-one classes, and those are $85 for the 2 to 3 hours. And we usually sit there and kind of come up with something or teach you how to do something that you're struggling with, or you kind of choose a painting and we repaint that. So what a lot of people will do is choose a painting that I have available or something that I've done that they struggle with, right? We get them with, oh, I struggle with mountains, so let's do a mountain scene. I have one guy in particular, Legacy Stoneworks, does some really cool clocks and stuff that they're going to send us so we can paint on them. And he can only see in black and white, basically. So we only do black and white paintings when I do classes with him. So most of the black and white paintings that you've seen prior to this are a class with Legacy Stoneworks, and because they pick a painting and they go, I like this one, but can we do it in black and white? I'm like, absolutely we can. You know what I mean? So Are we doing it? Are we always doing the Danny drinking game? So that's 2 for you guys that are playing along out there. Anytime we mention Danny, that's 3, unfortunately. You have to take a drink of whatever you're drinking. It could be Dr. Pepper or whatever you got in front of you. It doesn't matter, right? Just a little whoop, whoop, and throw one back every time. It's usually, don't go, choose your liquid wisely, because sometimes it can be 9, 10, 13 mentions. And each one, if you're playing along, you're going to have a fun time until you're not going to be having a fun time. You know what I mean? Like, till you get that, like, oh, the night is over. Okay, so now once we've gone very, very flatly against the paint in the opposite direction. So if we had our blade up here where we're coming down, we're taking our very light brush, right? Like, imagine it. If you're sweeping, okay, let's imagine that this is the floor. So my broom would be facing down at the floor like this, and I would be sweeping back and forth, right? I'm using a lot of pressure. I'm moving a lot of dust and dirt and bits and stuff, right? Imagine trying to use your broom like a rake, where you'd have to put it down flat and then drag it across the floor. Would you disturb the pile of dust that much if you were trying to brush it that way, right? So that's what we're basically doing. We're putting our broom flat on the floor like a rake, you know what I mean? And trying to very lightly go in the opposite direction. And all it does, instead of moving the paint, it just makes it a little more out of focus, a little harder to see what's happening in that spot, right? And then remember, everything that's down around the bottom will most likely be turned into misty, foggy craziness. So the way that we do that, right? We'll come up with the back half of the brush, the brush, and we're going to, I'm going to put it like this just to show you that we only really use the end. So instead of even having it long ways and it being the big 2-inch brush, we only really use the end, and we're tapping it closely enough, right? Tightly enough together that they are connected. We don't want to start going like this and this and this and this. You know what I mean? That's not going to make your mistiness. But if we can come up here and tap at them and then just be like a typewriter, just ding, and then we come back to the top. We go get the ding, ding, scary stuff, scary stuff, scary stuff, ding. It's going to make this area more misty, more difficult to see. It's also going to make it softer so that we can start popping up trees and such, right? You can also grab some of that paint and twist it out, just like we were doing with our clouds, like a little, you know, we're stirring up our chocolate milk, just to have that bit of softer area where we can then input some clouds, some trees or some heavier paint, right? You can also get back up here very lightly and streak down just a couple details a little further. Kind of took away more than I wanted to anyway. There we go. Somebody said, like, oh, Josh, can you show a mistake to show us you're actually human? There you go. I had taken away too much paint in my mistiness, so now I've gone back and I've added a little bit in there, right? And then I'm going to come up into that whole area with trees anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But same thing across the whole canvas, right? So we're tapping it out or we're twisting it up. Just tapping out little things exactly how the land was flowing down. So we're tapping down here, over there. What do I have an itch? Like, why is it this far up, firstly? And what do you do with your non-painting hand while you're painting? Like, say you're just standing there, right? I'm not holding my palette. Clearly, I have no idea what to do with my hand because it's way up here, like I'm at a chaperoning like a dance or something. What do you do with your painting hand? With your non-painting hand, excuse me. What do you do with your non-painting hand when you're not painting? Just let me know that in the comments, right? It's a puppet show. Seriously, I'm asking you guys, anybody that paints out there, right? What are you doing with your non-painting hand? Because mine literally ends up behind my back like I'm at, prom. And I'm just standing over there, right? I never had the guts to ask a girl to dance when I was in high school, literally. And I should have. It would have been an easy thing, right? Go up, deal with the rejection enough times until it just doesn't hurt anymore. And then you keep going, right? Isn't that how we all live? Let's get over here with our titanium white again with another giant pile of our ivory black. We're going to mix these guys together and attempt to make a color that is slightly darker than the last one that we just did. All right, and that way it will stand out as being slightly closer than the last layer that we just painted. All right, so that's looking grand right there. right? Again, it has to be dark enough, excuse me, light enough that we can then go make it darker with a little bit more black and a little bit more black and a little bit more black, right? Let's see, over here and over there. Now, what we're going to do is grab our fan brush, Paint with Josh fan brush, and wiggle it down through that dark paint. I want to get a good amount on there. So what I try to do is I try to leave the paint in a good pile versus flattening it all out. The more I flatten it out, the more I'm going to have to come back and scoop it up. All right, so let's say we come from over here. And let's don't want to go that tall. Let's get right in there. We're going to tap down a little thing. And right next to it, right next to it, right next to it, just like we're stepping down some stairs, okay? Go back, get a little bit more paint just to sharpen the brush up. Go next to it, next to it, next to it, next to it, going down, right? We don't need to have too much paint under the tip tops of our trees, right? So you don't have to make it enormous. Our other brush is going to do that for us. Now, let's go make the same shape over here, just a little lower, right? You do not want to fight too much of that white, snowy stuff. So try to stay away from it if you can, right? In fact, what if we came up a little higher, right there? Okay. Do another guy, come down, meet his little friend. This guy would come down, meet his little friend, which would be coming down to meet his little friend, right? Like all these little things are just like a heartbeat monitor, but they're very simple to paint, right? So when we sit up here and I go like this, and I'm just blasting these little things in and up and down, and you're looking at it like, okay, I'm just gonna go up there and I'm gonna randomly start just smushing stuff right underneath my mountain. No, that's not what we're doing, right? We're doing something very methodical, but we're doing it quickly, which because I've done it a million times, right? We're just making that same shape over and over and just connecting them at different heights, right? So that might be the top, and we get a little lower, a little lower, a little lower, filling in that area just a little bit because we only really care about what the top of the trees look like. We know we're gonna just demolish the whole rest of the bottom of the trees. And if you don't know, now you know. It really doesn't make a difference. It's only about the tip tops, okay? We're kind of coming down from slightly taller to slightly lower. Nothing crazy, okay? We're going to take our 2-inch brush. Lots of texture up there. Some of it's heavier, some of it's thinner, different places. We're going to start to swipe up. Every time we do that, we're going to leave a mark underneath. So as we swipe up and swipe up and swipe up, you see how the brush hits down there, leaves a mark, and then we're dragging it up. Each one of those is flattening down the little fence posts of paint out there so that they start to fill in and become hard to see them separately. They become this one thing with only the tip tops of our trees kind of popping out. That's what you want to have back there, right? A lot of the trees are different sizes, of course, right? But a lot of them are also growing the same rate. They're all getting the same amount of water each day. They're all pretty similar, right? I've seen some very similar tops of stuff, okay? Now here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna dab off our brush, both sides of it, so there's not too much of that black left. We're gonna come in and we're gonna start to tap at it. We're gonna do it lightly, and we're gonna do it at the very bottom, okay? Very bottom. Now that doesn't mean just go straight across the whole thing, okay? We're gonna kind of tap down, which is taking some of the dark down into the light. It's picking that up. So when I come up into the dark, it's gonna start to change it into light. Then I'll come up and up and down and up and up and down and here and there and up and here and over there. All we're doing is creating that little bit of mistiness, right? We're forcing the paint to mix in with the wet base coat. See that wet white base that's on there, right? All that paint is still wet across the whole canvas. All we're doing, with more pressure anyway, is forcing it to mix in with the liquid base. The more we force it to mix in, the lighter that black paint will become. We're using black paint, but by smushing it over and over and over again with this white, we're changing its color. We're making it less dark, right? And that's what we need to do. Now we're gonna dab off our brush on paper towel again, and then at the very bottom, we come down here and start to either mix it, like crisscross it away, right? Circles, ovals, whatever, all up to you and how you want it to look. Because with every swipe, as you go over it, you're looking at your brain is analyzing, did I do enough? Did I do too much? And by the time you come back, you have the ability to pull your brush away and go, ooh, yeah, no, that's perfect. Or, ooh, no, that needs another swipe. Or another swipe. Or another here or another there. Right? It's all up to us every time. It's not even us, it's you. It's not me, right? I've already done mine. I'm just showing you how. And so it's literally up to you. What do you feel like? You want it to be nice and dark. You want it to be overly bright. It's completely up to you. Now remember, it just cannot be all the same, okay? So even in here, I can see, can you see the misty difference at the base of the trees? I'm just asking you, right? Even if I were to take these guys and just straight flatten off at the base of that thing, can you see that there is a lighter and darker bit of gray and dark and light, and all throughout there looks like a very, very, very far away bit of misty cloud, right? You guys can see that? Perfect. What's up, Jessie Lynn over there? Over in the night. Man, that's so stinking cool. Okay. Now, ooh, I mean, that would be neat. Yeah, that would be cool. Nah, maybe. I don't know. I was thinking about, because we're literally making it up as we go, right? I've done so many of these paintings that I'm not following, I'm not looking at any other painting in here that's trying to make it exactly the same. We're just letting it rip and rock, right? So my thought was we were going to have some crisscrossing lines of forest in here, meaning we would start a little higher on this side, and as we would come down, we would get into the mist. That is going to make the bottom extremely dark by the time we've layered 2 bits of black on top of it. We have the ability to change right now and say, you know what? I want it to do this, or this is your first Paint with Josh experience? Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Right? You could say, I want to have this little meadow of snow back in there. And by adding heavy enough titanium white and launching in a little bit of snow, might get a little higher, a little lower. The main thing is it's not the same length across there, right? You can even take them way back here and drag it up in and then back around and up in again. So it looks like it comes in and wraps around, right? Whatever we feel like is what we feel like today. Is it supremely bright? Push on it harder and spread it out. You can even pick it up from some places and drop it into other places to change the shade. That's all it is. Change the shade of the color. It's fabulous. Remember, you guys can purchase this painting. It's available. It's over there on the site. Very first thing you'll see when you get over to my site. Very easy place to find too. I mean, my name is Paint with Josh, so I'm sure if you, I mean, you know, if you're over, like, I mean, even if you're a kid, because they know computers and devices better than us now. I'm pretty sure you'd be able to find it. If you knew my name was Paint with Josh, you'd be able to get there. Right? So now we've got this forest that's going from slightly higher to slightly lower. We also have a snowy meadow going from slightly higher to slightly lower. That doesn't mean that we don't, or that we cannot come back in and cut through that thing with forest again. It just gives us a little idea about where the painting is headed. Right? I'm going to get a lot more black, another chunk of white. I'm going to try to make that same color, if not just one slight bit darker. Right? Now, because we have the mistiness, even if I took the same exact color and I put it down here in that snowy brightness or in our mistiness out here, it's clearly darker than the area we're aiming for, even if it's the exact same color as our last layer. You don't always have to get darker, right? So it's all about placement, Josh. Come in here, wiggle down on that nice, it's almost like a pew-pew metal gray color. You ever hear that expression? That pew-pew metal? It's that kind of darkish, charcoalish, very cool car color as well. My car is very close to this color. Now, what we need to do is drop down, right? We can, oh, I don't know, you guys. Of course we do. Here we go. Let's come down in here, tap it in, next to it, start dropping down and getting away from the same color. We can't just have that same color out there. And if we start crisscrossing and dropping down, and you're getting a little taller, dropping down to a little smaller. All up to us, but we're going to put this bit of forest in front of, and we're going to get taller and taller and taller and taller as we go up here. And these guys will look like they're closer. They're taller than our last little thing. They're cutting up into that misty space that's up here. We can even make them enormously taller and then have a couple little details come off these little friends. Just a couple just monstrous old granddaddy trees that have been hanging out there forever. Right? And a couple little friends, a little here, a little there, little sparkies, little tip-toppies, little sharp things, little here, little wherever. Right? We're deciding with every single one what it looks like, how it's going to act. There we go. My brush was being a pain in the brush. Being an old pain in the brush back there. See, pop that guy in, and then you have to continue on with your little tree dudes, very sharp, little tip tops, and basically hide and only really show the tip top of that tree back there, right? That's the main goal. Bing. A couple little things. You do what you want to do. I'm just here to show you. All right, now if we dip down in between the bits of forest back here, and we continue dipping down and down and down and down, and you can even do these separated just to show you, right? The more that you do, the better. So when in doubt, do more. Do less. No, do more. There we go. Because the more we're going to do, the more we're going to fill it in. The more we're going to empty or clear in, fill in them spaces as it gets lower and lower and lower and lower and lower, right? Very cool. Now, what did we do last time? We came in, we swiped up on all these little guys out here. Very gingerly, well, with a little bit of pressure. And sometimes in enough to fill in spaces, even picking it up from heavier spaces and using it to fill in gaps. Remember, we should be able to see through the tip tops of these trees, but not through the base where it's very condensed and heavy, right? Oh, my word. Dude, we could change this whole thing up too. Oh, and we might. I don't know. We're going to have to figure it out. That's the whole fun about it, right? I'm going to come in, start tapping again, bringing some of the dark down, getting some of that light to come up here, the dark down there at a 45-degree angle, bouncing into the canvas and stopping. We're not swiping down, right? We're not trying to go like this and swipe it. We're trying to tap in at different places and force it to mix in with all that other color out there. How far does it go? How much does it mix? It's all up to us, you guys, seriously, right? Get in here with your circles. Try not to mix it all exactly the same, right? So again, we're not like a steamroller. We're going back and forth like an ice skater using all the ice, the whole rink out there, right? That way you get this soft little thing that's happening here in which you could do a whole new thing of snow going down in this direction, over in this direction, right? We could connect the whole thing. Oh my word. Dudes, guys, gals, painting pals. Do you see a lake? I see a lake. I see a lake at the bottom right there. Oh yeah. Do you guys see a lake? Anybody out there? These are the happiest of all conifers out there. I do a lake. I see a lake, they say. Do you see it right here? Because if I take this and I push down with force, right, and I like literally force and cut a straight-ish sort of line back there, right, just by pushing my brush down, pulling down on all that paint, right, and we can change the color of it. You see how we've just cut in a little line right there? So now if we swipe side to side gently enough, you get this little lake over there, especially when we put our liquid white and stuff. And then, oh my, we're going to put in a whole bunch of big trees over here. So let's finish it off. If we were going to do a lake down here, which we didn't even plan on doing, I would assume there was be a couple more trees on this side. Pop it in, a couple little bits, right? Little dewars, a little here, a little there, a little bang, bang, boom, hanging out, right? We're going to, you could almost pop them up into the thing. And then we're going to let them fill in back there, right along the edge of our little friend, our little guy back there. These could be the whole tip tops of other trees in front. I just went to a place very similar to this, driving up to Mount Rainier, and you could look down. If you follow me on Facebook, you've already seen the photo. You could look down and see this awesome lake that was down there. So if I use my liquid white with my titanium white in about 50-50 mix-ish, it's close. How'd all that dark paint get on there? What? How did that happen? I thought I wiped that blade off. Okay, let's get some liquid white this time. Just forget that happened, right? I must have picked up some black somewhere. Some liquid white, pop it down in here. A little bit of my titanium white, right? We don't need to have too much. That's already too big of a pile, but you know, Josh, that's how we do it. We'll come over here, right? I need to sort of scrape in or pull down like we always do. We just don't want to have too much paint. Right, scrape in, over here, wherever you want your kind of lake, this little pond up here in the woods, wherever you want it to be, right? Oh, just a little bit. Now, does that look like a lake to you? Of course not, right? So we're going to pull down with that liquid white and titanium white. It's going to ignite a little bit, and it's going to want to blend away the more that we keep doing it, right? So swipe it and then swipe it to the side without really taking away too much. If we take away too much, right, then it's going to disappear. So swipe some of that titanium white and liquid white, swipe it to the side to give it that glossy look, something different from our snow in the background. Or, I mean, in this scene, everything is in the background, literally, right? But we could also take a couple bits. Let's see how this looks. You could also just turn it into a bit of snowy hill going down in that direction, right? But if we can nail these and swipe down very lightly, just a little bit, take away the tops, bingo, bango, right? Might look like some reflections down into our little lake. We're going to come at it from all different angles too, but there we go. I like that. That's cool. I'm going to redo another one similar to this, but actually paint that lake that I went to go see. That would have been a good idea for this show, but I was like, oh, I'll do a black and white mountain scene. And then, of course, you see things while you're out here painting, right? Now, oh, we could still project up some very small little tip tops if we needed to, but I don't know. I don't think we'll need it. A little bit of a water line back here just to indicate there's a little bit of difference. We've got our very shyness, we've got our reflection, right? Maybe there's a little, just a little, like a wave, a little something, some sort of something out there, all right? Put it here. You just can't put it everywhere. That's the main thing. Now, I do want to project some stuff up from underneath, even though we don't have too much space, but gosh, this one's looking neat, especially over here. So we're going to need one more little section of our black and, of course, some of the white, just much less than before. If you can make it all the way down to the bottom of your canvas when you're doing a black and white scene and not have to use pure black, then you've done an amazing job. Thank you for listening and for doing this tutorial. I appreciate you. Now, I want to get out here. This is so much like that lake that Danny and I saw. Uh-oh, that's your fourth mention. The Danny mention, that's 5. I like to do them in 2s down over there. And she ducked me pretty good today, too. I was not expecting, and that sounds bad, but let me explain. I don't realize how bad it sounds until we say it out loud. We have this, first, she went out and got like 100 of these little ducks. They're like little teeny tiny little things. Look at these things. Look at this. And by saying she, that does not count as a mention, right? Look at these. They're like little rubber duckies, but they're not rubber, right? They're like little plastic things in all different colors. You guys see these little things? So she tends to put them around in places where I might see them, I might not see them. I might not see them for a couple days. Literally, there's one on top of the TV screen. This is what I have to do. Imagine it sitting right here on top of the TV. I have to reach underneath the TV and come just eye level with it, and it scared me. I was like, oh my, I just got ducked by Danny over there. And so then I tend to go back and I take all the ducks that she gives me, and then I'll go back and put them in weird places to do with her. Like I think the last one I put was right up underneath like her speedometer, you know what I mean? So she would have seen it eventually. Actually, I don't know. She's kind of a speeder. I don't think she really looks at the speedometer. We're gonna get over here. Okay, shh, don't tell her I said that, by the way. One more big old tree. And remember, this one is available. You can grab it. You just got to go over to paintwithjosh.com, be the very first person to get there. Now, as we're holding our fan brush very flat, imagine tilting it like you would tilt a plate and have all the little things run off. And then just use that same corner the whole time until you have to start using the brush and bouncing out and bouncing this way. And it's kind of like a pendulum. We're forcing them to spin upward, right? And the more you go, the more paint you're going to drop off, right? So you got to go back, load it up again. These guys can get out there and touch. They don't have to, right? You can fill up the whole thing, or you don't have to. It's all up to you. Literally every time, right? So you're in control of all these little trees. God, that looks so stinking cool, you guys. We might have to lose these trees to the foreground. I think that's exactly what's going to happen, because these are so large now that these little guys over here looking a little funky if we just extend this tree just a little higher. Bink, right there. Right, give them just a little love. Same corner, start bouncing side to side, getting a little bigger. And we barely even had to use the whole brush on that tree. And that's a good 5 to 6 inch tree right there. Holy shaving cream. You guys, what if, I don't want to take away too much of the lake, but I do want to have the indication that we're above these trees looking down on this little lakey little friend down here, right? My little lake friend down there. So if I pop a couple trees out here, a couple little doofers, little tip tops, right? It might look like we're above, looking down over this whole thing. Man, that looks so cool. So I'm going to highlight these foreground trees up here, and then we'll probably call it, you guys. That looks really neat. Really, really neat. So, is it puzzle time already? Goodness, is it already 8 o'clock? I didn't realize we'd gone that far or that long. No puzzle yet. Dude, this one looks so cool. Even the background, even if we got rid of the pond, right? And we did more trees in the front, or however you want to do it, right? Even then, it would look stinking cool. Remember, none of the trees out here have to be symmetrical either, right? You can have some that are launching off big branches, some get broken off, some are sharp, some are dull, fat, you know what I mean? All sorts of different stuff, just like us. All of us. Some trees are just like humans, honestly. Literally. Let's do, should we do one more big guy over here? Yeah, right? Like, no, maybe? Yeah. Yeah or no? One more big tree over here. I'm going to let you guys decide. One more tree. Is London here? London. Dude, we were telling Ari about Farmstead IQ earlier. It was awesome. And I wonder if she went and checked it out. But yeah, if you guys are into gardening like me, and remember, ask like 26-year-old me if I was ever going to be into gardening, and I would have been like, no, never, right? Yes, we are now into gardening, into our 40s. And so whenever I'm not painting, I am checking out my Farmstead IQ, and it's London's website that she created. I really suggest you guys go check it out. Let's put in one more little guy over here. Doesn't have to be too tall, but go check it out because it's super neat. It's helping me grow these sunflowers in my, just right on my patio in Selah, Washington, up here in the north, right? And it's cool. It tells me when to water them, how much, this, that, and the other. And you can, yeah, I mean, you can do all sorts of stuff. All sorts of, there's like 90 different flowers that it'll tell you how to grow, when to plant the seeds, when to repot or change or whatever. Like, there's so much information on that site. So, and you know, even if you have big giant farms that have livestock and animals and stuff, right? Like, all things are on Farmstead IQ. Anything farm or gardening is on Farmstead IQ. So check it out. Again, you guys should know how to find stuff on the internet. Very cool with this scene, guys. Seriously. So let's get over here. I'm going to finish cleaning off all these brushes while you guys come up with a title for this painting, right? Come up with a title. What would you call this little friend if you had painted it, or if you had purchased it, right? Because if you do purchase it, you get to pick the title forever, whatever it may be in your brain. We literally had somebody call the painting Tim one time because they were going to give it to their father or uncle or somebody named Tim. And so they wanted to name the painting Tim. And I was like, absolutely, let's rock and roll, right? So hit us with your titles. Remember, if it gets purchased, that person is going to be searching through all of your titles in the comments to see which is their favorite, and they might use it, right? And if it doesn't, that's perfectly okay as well. We need to come up with it as a group together. You and I, us, we's, have to come up with a title for this painting. We's, that's something I do when I run. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But help me come up with a title for this painting, right? What would you think this one would be called? I mean, just like Hidden Lake in the Mountains or something. I mean, give me your opinion. What would you think? All right? And remember, it's not an ad. I just love the website, Farmstead IQ. You just got to go check it out, dude. Seriously, it'll help you. Honestly, I'm like a total novice at this gardening thing. We've been painting for way longer, right? So, but it's really cool, honestly. And I wouldn't talk about it and I wouldn't use it if I didn't think it was cool. So, go check it out. Very neat. Get this guy over here. And then, my friends, we're going to start coming up with titles. So, type them in the comments. What do you think would be the best, the most appropriate title for this painting? deep in the black and white woods. I'm going to get a little bit of my odorless mineral spirits and mix it in with that very dark color of our foreground trees, or black, whatever, whichever one you want to use. And we're going to do the worldwide Paint with Josh. My voice gave out. There we go. Meaning I have a 3-bird signature, and when I come down and sign that 3-bird signature on the very first one, all of us collectively together are going to use our vocal cords to make the best caw noise you've ever heard, right? The louder and more obnoxious it is, the more chance I'm going to hear it way over here in Selah, Washington. Dude, I almost want to put the birds flying right down through here. You know what I mean? Like they're going to come down, maybe land in the lake. Or we put them up here or over there. But in any case, I'm going to count down from 3 to 2 to 1. If you haven't had any fun today, join in with us and have some fun and give it your best, loudest, most obnoxious caw you've ever done. In 3, 2, 1. Ooh, that's a nice one. Dude, like. Look at it. Oh, I love these things so much. Okay. Let's get over as well. I'm going to put on the smallest amount. Use my liquid white down here before we plop on. Actually, you know what? Let's plop on just a teeny tiny amount of highlights onto this little friend. Small bit. I don't want to overtake the dark part, right? Like it's a black and white painting. These are very dark sections of the trees way up here, away from the light, right? They should be dark anyway, so we don't want to overdo it, okay? We're going to put on a very, very light amount of our liquid white, titanium white paint. Okay, start dropping off little things, little bits, little portions, little thingies. Right, and we're not going to try to cover up every single piece of every single thing, right? Because if we do, then we know that it's going to be too bright. We have to leave a couple little spots, a couple little things of that original deep dark color in between, no matter, even if it was a bright summertime blue sky day with green branches instead of this little white highlight, you still wouldn't want to overdo it and cover up too much, right? The more you cover up, the more you're going to dislike. Trust me, I've done it 100 million times, okay? So take your butt over to paintwithjosh.com. Make sure you grab this painting and then come back here and tell us what to title it. Remember, we rely on the viewers purchasing the paintings. I'd make like $14 off of TikTok a week. Like literally, it's not paying the bills, guys. So we rely on the viewers to go and just at least just check it out. See if you like it. Maybe send it to somebody who might like it, right? You never know. You never know what your friends are into, man, because you didn't ask. So pop it out there. Launch them out, right? And if you ever get an area that's too bright, tap it away with your finger, make it mix in with the dark paint. Remember, you never have to just like settle and be like, ugh, I guess we ruined this one and I'll just have to try again. No, just dab it off with your finger a little bit. The more you keep touching it with your brush, the more you are going to ruin it, right? Because you're going to keep hitting it and dropping off more and more and more and more and more brightness, when in fact you needed to stop and allow that brightness to be mixed in with that dark color underneath. Remember, all the highlights, same side, same team over here, little tippity-tappities, not trying to cover too much, and especially as we get down to the bottom, we're doing less and less. I mean, we're doing the same thing, but it's showing up less and less and less, and that's what you want it to do. You don't want it to be brighter down at the bottom than it is at the top. You want it to fade away. Now, you guys come up with a title. I'm going to throw in the old JK down around the bottom. Just kidding. No, it's for my name. And then we'll put in just a couple tree trunks with our palette tool. We'll be all set. So you guys start coming up with a title. Now remember, if you purchase it, you get to pick the title, and these are all just suggestions for you. And if not, then I will be choosing from all of your suggestions to pick the title for the painting. So let me know what you think it would be called. Does it remind you of a mountain near you? Like a theater near you? Does it remind you of a mountain at home? What's the name of that mountain? Let us know. Tell us. Tell us all, right? Tell us what you would call this painting. And if you really like it, go over and purchase it. And then you can come back, and if you're, come back in time and before we choose a title ourselves, right? If you come back in a timely manner, then you'll be able to pick that title. So I usually give you guys about 2 minutes to start coming up with titles, and that gives the person, if they wanted to go over and purchase this painting, gives them a chance to do that, so then they can choose the title. Not in Kansas anymore. Dude, Josh Gone Huntin' is that guy's screen name. I mean, Josh, isn't it just, can you just confirm? Can you just confirm with me and tell everyone else that's watching the burden that we bear as Joshes to just be the handsomest of all boys, right? Aren't we just the handsomest of boys? Isn't Josh just the most attractive male name in the English language? I agree, Josh. And the burden that we bear, you know what I mean? Trying to, we got to deal with all the Mikes and the Kevins, and especially the Keiths, because they're the direct opposite of Josh's, right? You are so correct, my man. So let me just thank you, Josh, for bearing the weight of being a Josh. I appreciate you as well. Just so you know. Definitely not in Kansas, man. Boom, boom, boom. Mountain View memory. So Josh, I hope I earned a follow with that with that display. We could almost put more little bits in the front, but I kind of like that it opens up. It gives you the impression that we are looking down over something, you know what I mean, that we can see. And we've got these other hills in the distance and then this mountain in the background. It's just so cool. So you guys come up with a title, and I'm going to pop on those little tree trunks like I was talking about. We're going to come out here and go about right there, just a little slight vertical line, very small. Not in the same places on every one either, right? You want to be able to stagger them, not just have here, there, all across the same height on there, right? Wouldn't really work like that. So come up here, over there. See, we're going down, 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 boom, boom, boom. That means I could, if I wanted to, put another one over here, right? And show a little bit of my trunk right there. So whatever you feel like, just, I'm just showing you what I've learned after doing 2,532 of these paintings now, what I've learned and what works and what doesn't work, just so that your painting journey is less stressful than mine was, man, because I had to teach all this stuff to myself. I started during COVID. Nobody was doing classes. Nobody had figured out virtual yet, you know what I mean? And so I just had to teach myself how to do all this stuff. And fail a lot, you know what I mean? Try to paint a mountain and then step back and be like, ugh, why don't I like this one? What didn't I do correctly? What did I do wrong here to make it look like this when other ones have looked quote unquote better or worse or whatever, right? And then you step back and you have to analyze it and go, okay, well, it's really super heavy in certain spots. It's not as heavy as I want it to be here, there, or wherever, or whatever the painting is, right? And then you have to, decide, okay, I didn't like that part, and I didn't like that part, and I didn't like this part. And so by the time you redo it, you try to redo the same thing, get back to that same spot and go, okay, I know I didn't like this the last time I did it, and I think it was for this reason, so I'm going to do this, right? Like, so they're like, okay, last time I did it and it was too heavy over here and I couldn't put my big trees. So next time I go to do it, I'll make it less heavy back there so that I can put my big trees over and try. Maybe you did it enough. Maybe you didn't make it thin enough or whatever, right? You're going to figure it out the more you do. That's the fun of it. Yep, you always take that same, who said that? Shines Art. Am I saying that correctly? Shines Art says, I always take photos of the painting and then sit and critique it. Exactly, right? Look at it. But for me, right, when I take a photo, because I don't do anything, I barely do, like 99% of the paintings that I do are live on camera. I barely paint off camera, because when I do paint off camera, I'll paint something awesome and then I'll post it and someone will be like, is there a tutorial for that? And I'll be like, no, but I'll redo another one and it won't be as good as that. You know what I mean? So to do everything live. So everything you've ever seen is on screen. And when I'm posting them or taking a photo and posting it, especially right after we did it, people are expecting to see the photo, right? They know that I'm not going to go back and change anything, because if I wanted to change something, I would do it on the next painting. You know what I mean? So they're expecting my photos right away. And sometimes we put out amazing paintings, right? Sometimes you just take a step back or two and forget something or why or this or that, right? And so you know, we don't sell all of them, clearly. And even the ones that are amazing, some of them, they, you know, I'm not blaming you guys, right? I'm not blaming myself anymore either. I used to think like, oh, like, okay, I just did the best black and white painting I ever did, and it didn't find a home. I must just stop, right? Like, that's it. That's it for me. Because how can I ever do anything better than that? And if that didn't sell, then nothing ever will, right? I know if Danny's listening, she's heard me say that. If London's listening, she's heard me say that. You know what I mean? Like, and I know after a while that that's not the case, right? Like, literally anything. I couldn't have, you know, the person that was going to grab this one didn't watch tonight, clearly. You know what I mean? And they have the ability to get it later on. And if not, I'll use it as a reference for future classes and stuff. So in either which way, we all benefit. Now let's pick a title and let's get over here and unscrew this thing so that we can title it up. Josh Gone Hunting says, how do I buy this? So you go to my website, right? A fellow Josh. My name is Paint with Josh. So if you just go over there and you put Paint with Josh and then put the dot and then do the rest of it, right? Which the only reason why I don't say it is because every time we do, the robots that watch the show, the bots go crazy and they try to think that you're leading people away when literally either way, go to my website, paintwithjosh.com. Head over there, right? Grab that sucker up. It's the very first thing you're going to see. This is painting 2532, which is the featured painting right at the top of the website when you get there. You shouldn't even have to scroll very far. It should be just right there staring you in the face. There's no picture of it because we haven't finished the show. We're doing a live, right? But I basically make a blank canvas available for you to purchase before the show so that at any moment during the show, anybody could grab this at any point. I've had them even just putting on the black of the sky, or, you know, doing a blue sky, and then the painting will sell. Like, at any point, right? So I give you a blank canvas, and then as we go and finish it, people jump at it, and sometimes it sells and sometimes not, right? But it's over there. It's $249. It's an 18 by 24 inch canvas. It'll take about 4 to 5 days to dry, and then 4 to 5 days in the mail. So you're looking at maybe a week and a half if it's supremely thick, right? I have a very quick drying process for oil paints. What's that word when like a company is not, I mean, they are keeping a secret, right? Like it's their own recipe, proprietary way that only I know, right? Oh, did we drink number 5 if we're playing? Did we talk about Danny, perhaps? That's another drink for you. Number 6. Man, this one came out so good. So yeah, you just head over there to paintwithjosh.com. Grab that first one. It should say like painting number 2532, black and white mountain landscape, painted on today's date, 7/27 of 2026. That's the whole title of the link, right? You click on that guy, put it in your cart, come back, tell us what to name it. I'll give you like a minute or two. You don't bid on it. It has a set price. And if you go there and you pay the set price, you get to have the painting. There are other people that are also going to look at it as well, right? But we don't do bids. Maybe back in the day before I was an established business for 7 years, maybe we would have done that, but we don't do that anymore. You know what I mean? Just like Jordans, I'm not going to go to the store and give Nike a bid and be like, hey, I'll give you 120 instead of 140 for those. And they're gonna be like, no, if you want them, you can buy them, right? Like that's how it goes. And I respect myself and my art enough to not do that. And I feel like at this moment, I'm at a big enough stage where I don't have to bid, right? And it's me. It's not a dig against anybody else, just myself. But that's how I feel about it anyway. It has a price. If you like it, get it. If not, then that's okay too. You know what I mean? So let's come up with a title. Pinned comment. What do we got? Does painting in black and white help with, I lost it. It fell away. Does painting in black and white help with, let me guess at what they would have said. Help with value and distance? Absolutely. Absoluten, right? Yeah, go back and grab that comment again because I want to see it. Help you get better with shading and color. So kind of, you know what I mean? When you're just using black and you know that you can't have this black be as dark as this black, which is lighter than this black, which is lighter than this black, right? Like you can't just use the same black throughout the whole painting. Otherwise, nothing stands out and you don't get that distance, right? So maybe not necessarily with shading, but more with the value of the color. So whether it is a very faint amount of black or whether it is a very heavy amount of black, the value of color changes. And that's how you, Fading Memory, that's a cool title. All right, I would go with that. If it's up to me, I'm going to go with Fading Memory, just so Aaliyah stops screaming at me, right? But it more has to do with like that value, right? So if it's, and then the layers and black and white will help. They help me, you know what I mean? It's almost easier to see layers in black and white. The Veiled Pass, that is a cool title. Gray Mountain Pass is awesome. Echoes in the Mist. Thanks, Kathy. I appreciate you. There's nothing wrong with respecting your worth or value. I appreciate that. And you know, I don't know if it's just me. It might just be me. Like my anxiety would in the past stop me from doing things, right? Like I was too afraid to go to a gallery and be like, hi, I have 3.5 million followers. I'm Paint with Josh, and I teach people how to paint and stuff. Can I be in your gallery? I didn't have the courage to do that, right? Like I needed someone else to do that for me. And then once I was in, that was the funny thing, is that it didn't even make a difference. Because the person that was in charge of letting people in the gallery was a fan. They were already a follower and watching me, and we're like, absolutely, like we would love to have, and you know, and you got to get over that, those little invisible, or what's on the other side is invisible, right? But they're just little bumps. They're just little speed bumps sometimes. And sometimes we think that the whole earth has fallen off after this little bump, right? It can't physically be anything for the rest of time over this little bump, but it's really just a little speed bump sometimes. And if you were to just get past that and just realize, like, that's what one thing London helped me a lot with. It's like, what's the worst thing that they're going to say? No. Okay, then you just turn around and go. All right. No, that makes a lot of sense. You know what I mean? Like, what is the worst thing that's going to happen? They're going to say no, no big deal. All right, we'll go dip out, right? So this one is amazing. What was Aaliyah's comment again? Fading Memory. Let's call it that. I'm going to go with that. All right, we've given anybody who wanted it time enough to get it, right? And it doesn't look like anyone is in the process of checking out right now. So that still means it's 100% up to me what the title is going to be. That doesn't mean that you can't get it anymore. You can still grab it. You just can no longer name it once the name already goes on the back, right? You still will get the free spin off the Spinny Winnie wheel, which will give you a t-shirt, posters, puzzles, everything up to the grand prize, which is the Paint with Josh backpack. The most obnoxiously gorgeous thing you'll ever see. And you'll never, ever lose it in baggage claim. I promise you that. Promise you that. And you'll never forget it at home because of how just insanely brightly colorful it is. Right? Just be like, oh, okay, I got to get that every day. So let's get over here. I'm going to throw down the old JK. This one came out amazing. All right, Paint with Josh, original number. What is the number again? Am I tripping? No. What is the number, guys? Anybody? 2532. 2,532 paintings. And what are we calling it, Aaliyah? Fading Memory. Fading Memory. I like it. Perfect. Painted on 7. It's so funny. In the old studio, my clock was right here in the top corner, so it was very easy to see up there. New studio, it's over here, so I have to like creak my neck trying to get it back there. A little crick in the neck. So this one's painted on 7/27/2027. We're all going to go check out paintwithjosh.com. Grab this painting in the Originals collection. If it's not on the home page, it will be in the Originals collection. And that is found in the menu in the top left hand of the screen. So let's get out here, flip this guy around. I absolutely love this right here. And just as well, if you like black and white scenes, but you prefer the ocean, right? Is there anyone out there like that? You're like, oh, I love black and white scenes, but I'm really into like oceany stuff. Yeah, still. Let's see. Anyone out there though? Let's see. That like the ocean more than the landscapes, right? And you're still like a big black and white fan, because we've got this really cool thing right here. Same size canvas. This would be an excellent set as well, right? Same size canvas, gorgeous crashing wave in black and white. This is one of the upcoming classes that we have coming up here soon. Man, it's awesome. Okay, so this one is fabulous. You guys have been fantastic, and if it was going to sell to somebody, it would have probably done it by now, right? So let's get ready. We have named it. We have done it all. We did the cacao. We did everything, guys. And it's been a long show. So I cannot wait to see your versions. All you need, 2 colors, white canvas, liquid white base, in order to do this wicked awesome painting. Follow along with every step. Send it in either to my Facebook page or the TikTok page. Drop it into any one of the comments of any one of the videos we ever post. It's going to be the easiest way for me to see it. Photos, videos, whatever. Drop it in there in the comments. You can drop a picture, and it'll be an easier way for me to see it versus messaging me is just, there's just too many to even go through, right? So I do love you guys. I'm going to get out of here. Cosmic's like, geez, okay. What, did you just show up? You just got here? Thanks, Josh. I appreciate you. Did you just get here? My bad, right? But yeah, we've been going for like 90 minutes, bro. Where you been this whole time, right? This one literally came out cool. Whenever Airy and Cosmic get together, it's just like, you guys team up against me, and that's not fair. That's not fair. Thanks, Josh. I appreciate you bearing the weight of being a Josh and being the most handsomest of all male names. We all know Keith is the complete opposite and the worst of all. I'm just... So beyond that, I do love you guys. Make sure you send me in your versions of the painting. This one came out fantastic, and I can't wait to see yours. So until we do, and until I see you again, is this how we end the shows? How do we end the shows again? Whenever the show goes too long, it's hard to remember how to end it. Okay. Can't wait to see. Let me just take that. We'll take 2 on that. Don't blow it this time, Josh. 1 take, Jake. Can't wait to see your versions of this painting. Please send them into the Facebook or the TikTok page. And until we see you guys again next time, take care. Rest of a good day. And well, that one came out amazing. I want to thank you guys for being here, liking, subscribing, tapping the screen, commenting, and interacting with me. It's all been fantastic. In the meantime, before we get to our next painting, be sure you check out paintwithjosh.com, because there's always something else to look at over there. So until I see you guys again next time, take care.